In this video, I'm gonna show you how I install the landing gear in my big gas airplanes. Pretty simple process, but you might learn 1 or 2 tips along the way. So to start, we're just gonna install the 6 bolts on the main gear. This would be pretty straightforward. It's 3 bolts per half of the gear. These are metric 4 bolts, and I'm going to be using a washer. Make sure that the orientation is correct. In this case, the bolt pattern forces me to put this part on this side of the fuselage. Other planes might be symmetric, and you have to be more careful there. And in this case, the holes are a bit too small to fit the washer. So instead, I'm gonna position the washers on the gear and then slide them in carefully and then put the bolt through the holes. And I'll be using red Loctite. In the past, I've used blue Loctite, and eventually it turns to loosen up a little bit. I'm not expecting having to take this off ever, so I'm just gonna go straight for a little bit of the red Loctite. Okay, and now repeat the process on the other side. All right, so the next step here is going to be installing the fairings. Piloter cylinder kit, they include this U-shaped rubber, and this is pretty nice to basically go around the edge of the fairing on the fuselage side and insert it, wrap it all the way around, and it will just kind of get a better connection, a better look for the fairings. So right now I'm just measuring, and I will trim it to the right length, and then I will use some CA to glue it in place. Here in the corner I'm gonna cut a little bit at an angle, maybe at like 45-degree angle, so that it fits just a little bit better. And I wrap all the way around, and at the end I will also trim to get the right shape. Now that I have the rubber trim cut to the right length and shape, I'm going to use some medium CA to glue it in place. So I'm adding the glue just on the inside to avoid getting a bunch of glue dripping outside. And this would be plenty. Now just being careful not to get my fingers dirty with the CA, because then you get the glue everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna leave that there for a minute, and in the meantime I'm gonna do the other one. Now it's time to get into the axles. So I'm gonna start by installing the axle with the lock nut and some red Loctite. Now that the axles are installed and secure, I'm gonna take a look at the wheels. So in this case, this system comes with a spacer, then goes the wheel, and then the lock nut. So I'm just gonna tighten it until it starts binding, and then I will back it out a little bit. So it's gonna be something like that. I'm actually going to remove the lock nut and apply a little bit of waterproof grease so that the wheel is able to spin as freely as possible with minimal friction. There we go. So next is going to be the wheel pants. So let's take a look. These ones come with this kind of shape already for the landing gear. So the position is pretty much fixed already, but I'm going to take a look and see if there is any binding between the tire and the wheel pant. Okay, so it looks like the wheels, both of them, are a bit too close to the inner side, and there is a bit of rubbing around here. I marked that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some washers to give it some separation and move the wheel a little bit to the outside. And I think there's enough space on the outside so that the wheel will not rub with the wheel pants and we'll get it centered and all good. Okay, now that we have the wheels in place and we're happy with the position, in this particular case, I'm gonna have to drill the holes that fix the wheel pants in place on the gear. The next step would be to actually have either T-nuts on the other side, or what I'm gonna do in my case is gonna be install a washer and a lock nut. I've usually had better luck with lock nuts than T-nuts. The challenge here is going to be inserting the washer in the bolt and then the lock nut in the bolt from here with very difficult access. I'm gonna try to use tweezers, maybe some other tools to make it happen. The tweezers seem to work pretty well for at least the washer. All right, our next step is going to be gluing these fairings against the landing gear. So this actually doesn't go glued into the fuselage; it goes glued into the main landing gear. And the idea with that is that you can always remove the landing gear if needed, and you don't have this glued into the fuselage. So first step is going to be to make sure that things align well here, and the fit is nice and tight, and this looks really good. With that, what I'm gonna do is grab some tape and mark where the fairing ends. So I'm gonna grab some blue tape. I'm gonna bring this, make sure that it's all the way against the fuselage. I'm pressing to make sure that it's in the right position. and it looks good on both sides. So now what I'm gonna do is use some of this E6000. In the past I've also used marine goop, and that works very well too. And I'm gonna add a big layer of it around here on both sides. And it will kind of drip down a little bit into the inside of the fairing, and we'll keep it there in place. I've already prepared some long pieces of blue tape to hold the fairing in place, because the cure time of this is pretty long. I think it's a good like 12 to 24 hours. Yeah, 24 hours of curing. So we want to leave that there for a while overnight. Removing a bit of the excess. And now with my blue tape, and this doesn't have to be anything fancy. This is just to make sure that it stays in place while it cures. And that's it. I'm gonna leave that there overnight to cure. And once that's done, we can remove the tape, and we can always use a X-Acto knife to clean up any potential excess that might come out of there. It's been 24 hours since I glued the fairings for the gear, so let's remove now the tape and see how it looks. After removing the tape and cleaning things up, everything looks pretty good. And on this other side. And this is not gonna go anywhere.